Okay, let's talk about a story you think you know. You know, the one about the big, clunky video store that got totally crushed by streaming. But what if I told you the real story is way more interesting, and that it holds probably the most important business lesson for what is happening right now with AI?
This right here, this is the exact moment a $6 billion empire sealed its own fate. Picture it. The year's 2000. We're in a boardroom in Dallas, Texas. A tiny, money-hemorrhaging startup is making this desperate last-ditch pitch to the absolute king of home entertainment. And that king, he's about to laugh them right out of the room.
So how did we get here, right? How did the undisputed champion of the market, with thousands of stores and all those rigid rules, end up on the completely wrong side of history? Well, it all kicked off with this one meeting.
So Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph, the guys who started Netflix, they saw a perfect match. You know, they had the online thing figured out, but they were burning through cash like crazy. Blockbuster, on the other hand, had 9,000 stores, a massive customer base. The idea was so simple. Netflix runs the online side, Blockbuster handles the stores, and together they'd basically own the entire future of movies at home.
But Blockbuster's CEO, John Antioco, he didn't see a partner. He saw a joke. After he heard that $50 million price tag, he literally had to fight not to laugh out loud. But here's the really crucial point. Blockbuster wasn't just saying no to a deal. They were fundamentally, completely unable to see the future because they were just blinded by their own success in the present. And this gets to the real why of it all. See, Blockbuster's failure wasn't just some one-off bad decision. It was a deep cultural problem. They were protecting their golden goose, those late fees, the in-store rentals, the whole "this is how we've always done it" mindset, and they were terrified to do anything that might mess with that. It's a pattern we see over and over and over again. A successful company gets so good at optimizing what works today that it completely fails to invent tomorrow.
And that leads us to the next really important part, because the story everyone tells that streaming killed Blockbuster is a total myth. I mean, Netflix didn't even stream its first movie until 2007. By that point, Blockbuster was already in a nosedive. The real disruption? It was something way more subtle.
That's right, the killer wasn't some newfangled internet technology, it was the DVD. This small format change, which looked like just a little upgrade from a VHS tape, completely rewrote the entire economic rulebook for home entertainment.
You have to understand, this change in format just flipped the hidden economics of the industry on its head. VHS tapes were big, clunky, and expensive, which actually made Blockbuster's giant physical logistics network a real advantage. But DVDs? Oh, they were cheap, they were slim, and they were super easy to mail. And all of a sudden, that subscription model that Netflix was betting on became possible. You could mail these little discs back and forth for one flat monthly fee, and, get this, no late fees. It just completely blew up Blockbuster's whole business.
So while Blockbuster was thinking of itself as a retail logistics company, basically just moving plastic boxes around, Netflix was secretly becoming a data company. Every single time you rated a movie, you were teaching its algorithm, which was called Cinematch. In 2006, they even offered a $1 million prize to anyone on Earth who could improve it. Netflix wasn't just mailing you movies, it was learning what you liked and was building this incredible personalization engine that nobody else could copy.
Okay, so this brings us right to our doorstep to today, because the exact same kind of platform shift from a physical, clunky model to a slick, data-driven one is happening all over again. Only this time, the disruptive force isn't a DVD, it's artificial intelligence. We're actually seeing this massive move away from what we call software as a service, where you pay for a tool that helps you do a job, to something new, service as software. This is a whole new ballgame, where the AI doesn't just help you, it actually does the service for you and delivers the final outcome.
So what this really means is that AI is basically collapsing the old way of building software. Just think about it for a second. That whole human interface layer, all the forms and buttons and clicks, AI can replace that with just natural language. What about the coded logic layer? Well, AI can replace all those fixed business rules with dynamic reasoning. And the structured data layer? AI can make sense of messy, real-world info. The old way is quickly becoming obsolete. So, what does this actually look like in the real world? Let's take a really concrete example. The front desk of a small business. A place that's usually defined by missed calls and "please leave a message after the beep."
Just look at these numbers. An AI receptionist can now get customer satisfaction ratings that are as good as, and sometimes even better than, a human receptionist.
But, and this is the kicker, it's available 24/7, it answers in under 2 seconds, and it does all of that for a tiny, tiny fraction of the cost. I mean, we're talking about something like $29 a month versus over $3,000. It's a complete game changer.
But what's really driving that massive satisfaction rate? It's simple, the complete elimination of hold times. Imagine you're a customer. You call a business after hours, you're fully expecting to get a voicemail, but instead, your appointment gets booked instantly. That's not just service, that's a genuinely delightful experience. AI is creating a level of service that was literally impossible before.
And this is where it all clicks back to the Netflix story. The real power here isn't just automating a task. It's about the data you capture from doing it. Every single conversation, every question, every booking, every single complaint becomes another data point. Just like Netflix used movie ratings to build its uncopyable data moat, businesses now can use these customer conversations to create their own unbreachable competitive advantage.
But as we saw with Blockbuster, just having the technology and the data, well, that's only half the story. The other half is about having the curiosity and maybe the humility to actually listen to what that data is telling you.
Now, this quote isn't about Netflix. It's about a guy named Alan Payne, a lone Blockbuster franchisee way out in Longview, Texas. He saw what was happening with DVDs, he saw what his customers wanted, and he figured out the new model all by himself. He literally begged the corporate headquarters to listen to him. They never even bothered to call him back.
While the corporate execs were busy opening more stores based on a model that was already dying, Alan Payne was actually listening to his customers. He brought in a wider selection of DVDs, he leaned into those niche tastes, and he made personal recommendations. And what happened? His stores became the most profitable in the entire Blockbuster network. The proof that the new model worked was right there, inside their own company, and they just chose to ignore it.
So that's it. That's the real lesson from the fall of Blockbuster. The next huge disruption to your business, your industry, it probably won't come from a competitor you can see. It's going to come from some subtle shift that unlocks a whole new kind of data. The data that, right now, you're probably ignoring. So the only question left is, will you listen to it?